I want to go on to another deal. Who has a deal with a birthday in February? Penny, you do? That's great. I'm going to go to March then. All right, Penny, give Penny the microphone as if she hasn't had it enough these 5 days. I'm just kidding, Penny. I'm kidding. How is Marco doing? Is he still racing? Did he do good?
He did good, yeah.
Okay. So, Penny, how many units do we have?
We have 32.
32 units, all right? And where is the area, Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Okay.
Well, you know, maybe.
What is the asking price?
$925.
$925,000.
Maybe. Maybe it's in
What-
Tuktoyaktuk.
What is the NOI?
NOI is 92.
92. Okay.
What the hell? You went to the wrong one. Sorry.
So, what is the debt service for the year, Paul?
On such a small unit, it's going to be small.
Let's hope.
57,888.
Okay. First and foremost, Penny and Paul. Actually, Paul, notice that Penny is going after 32 units in something that seems a little bit more stabilized. I can tell you right now, just looking at these numbers, I can tell you this is going to be a little bit more of a stabilized property. And I feel much better about this property, especially with these guys, than I did with the other one, just because it was so far out there. And I don't want to keep harking on that, but just follow my situation here. I want to figure out the cash flow, or CADs.
34,112.
34,112. Okay. And in step one, we're going to figure the cap rate. And you know what we do there. We take the 92,000 and we divide it by the 925 and we get
9.9.
9.9. I'm going to ask Penny, what is the cap rate in Atlanta for that particular type of property?
It's 10 to 11.
Okay, perfect. So we're in the neighborhood, in the neighborhood of a 10 cap, 9.9. We're right there. So this is the first one where I actually feel pretty good about the cap rate. It's not telling me that the income is so unstable that we shouldn't move further. It's not telling me that, a red flag that we need to stay away from. So far, so good. I like that. So, and I'll just put this as a slide. 10 is the market cap rate there. In number 2, we're going to figure cash return on investment. So we're going to take our cash flow of 34,112 and divide it by our 20% down. What's 20% of 925?
185.
185?
And it works out to 18.4.
So 18.4. Okay. So close to our 0 to 5. Here, I should actually write that out. Hold on one second. So we got 0 to 5, 5 to 15, and greater than 15. That's our target area. This is our proceed, but with caution. And 0 to 5 is move on. Okay, so we're just outside of our target area. Cool. So before I finish step number 3, Penny, what, if anything, do we need to know about this property?
Let's see here. It's Central Georgia. I don't have anything about occupancy rate, but it does say.
Why is the seller selling? Do you have any of that stuff?
We don't have any of that information. We do know that there are some tenants, but we don't have how many, because it does have a note not to disturb tenants.
Okay, actually, hold on there. I like that. When they say do not disturb tenants, that tells me that the owner is concerned about their tenant base and they don't want to disrupt the income that's coming in currently. When they have that on there, that is actually a good indication to me. Please do not disturb tenants. Wonderful.
And the unit ratio is right on target with what you've been teaching us all along.
Okay.
It's perfect.
And what is it?
Well, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know.
Do you see the conflict I have with that, Penny?
No. I mean,
me
we
tell you
know,
about- let me
we
tell you
know,
about-
but we
again,
don't know.
yeah.
No, they're like 3 1.5s, 3 1s, 2 1.5, and 2 1s.
It's like, Penny, do you have trouble making decisions?
Nope.
Yes and no,
Well,
right? You've heard that
kind
before?
of.
Okay, so Penny,
Never.
we're going to go in and figure debt service coverage ratio.
Okay.
So to do that, DSCR, to do that, we're going to take our NOI of 92,000 and divide it by our 57,888, and we get, Paul? Oh, yes, that's right. You were calculating engineer. Anybody else work that?
1.589.
1.58.
89. Yeah.
Okay,
or 9.
1.58, so above the 1.25, really good, okay? So on this one, I feel pretty good so far. I think we're on the right side, we're around in the area that cap rate should be. I like this because even though it's just outside of the 5 to 15 range, I think it's something that we can work with. It's got a good debt service coverage ratio. Now, with the debt service coverage ratio at 1.58, I want to show you something really quick, and this has to do with the return on investment, okay? So our return on investment is 18.4. I just want to show you 2 things with this deal, and then we'll move on to another one. This is the leverage that I'm talking about. All of you should think about what you have to invest with regard to resources and how you're going to utilize that resource correctly. So, because this has a debt service coverage ratio of 1.58, it's telling us that there's room to put more debt on this deal. Okay, does everybody see that? So, let's just say that we back off of the 80-20 a moment, and we say we're going to implement an 80-10-10 deal. Okay, an 80-10-10 deal. So, that means that we've got 80% bank financing, 10% seller financing, and 10% down payment. I just want to show you what this does for return purposes, and then I want to show you one other tweak off of that. Okay, so at an 80-10-10, that means that we have additional debt on there. So Paul, if you could run another debt service, that would include the seller financing, same terms, and you would give me both of the debt services together, so we'd have 90.
The total is 65,123.
65,123. So that's going to be our debt service per year, and I'll just put a 2 in parentheses. Again, let me review what this is. This is our first debt service of 80% and our second of 10% together at the terms that we talked about at the beginning. 6% interest rate, 25-year amortization. Okay? Now, since that is our increased debt amount, we know that our net operating income up here of 92,000, is that going to change? No, that won't change, because remember, it's income minus expenses equals NOI. We haven't touched debt service yet. Once we go to debt service, our debt service increased from 57,888 to now 65,123. So what will change is our cash flow. Does everybody see that? Okay, so what we have to do is put our new CADs.
26,877.
Okay, great. Hold on one second. 26.877. So now, we've got to go back and run these again, except for cap rate. We've got to run cash return on investment. That's going to be our fourth cash return on investment 2 we'll put there.
29.
Okay, hold on one second. So we're going to take our new CADs of 26,877 and divide it by not 20% down, but what? 10% down, because we've got an 80-10-10, so that would be 92,500. And we get what?
29.
29%. Do you see how we just took our percentage of 18.4% cash return on investment and turned that into 29%? Does everybody see that? The reason we were able to do that is we added more leverage. And when we add more leverage, it may reduce our cash flow, but it's giving us a better return of the money that we are putting into the deal. So if we only had, let's just say that we only had $185,000 to work with. That was our nest egg, that was our life savings, we're investing it in real estate. I could tell you, hey, let's buy a piece of property. It's going to give us an 18.4% return. But if we add leverage and ask for a little bit of seller financing, we could turn that same $185,000 if we did 2 of these properties into getting a 29% return on that money. Does that make sense? That should be an eye-opener for most of you here. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions with this whatsoever?
The new debt service coverage ratio is still.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to just figure that in 1 second. I want to see people. I want to have people see me figure that out. So let's figure that out now, Paul. Thanks. So the debt service coverage ratio now is going to change. Our net operating income is still the same, $92,000, but our debt service is going to change, and that's $65,123. We need to be over 1.25. It is 1.41. So it dropped from 1.58. It's now at 1.41, but we're still in a safe, secure area. Does everybody see that? That's important. This is a nice, Penny, this is probably a nice deal. It really is. It'll probably work out pretty good. But note how this return changes dramatically when you add a little bit of leverage. Okay? Okay, so questions? Yes?
You're assuming the 6% on the second position. Is that realistic?
Scott's question is, I'm assuming a 6% on the second. Is that realistic? I don't know this seller. I have no idea about the situation, but probably somewhere in that neighborhood. Yep. Yes.
Would you, in that case, try to get a 20% seller financing since your debt ratio is?
Oh, someone wants to get greedy now. I see what's going on here. It's like, oh, that 29% return isn't enough for me. I want 50. Maybe. I'm just giving you this as an example. I want you to learn from this. Could you go higher? I don't know the situation with the seller. I'm just giving you the kind of the fundamentals here. The other thing to keep in mind is if the asking price is $925, you're probably going to have a better chance of getting the seller financing to get a higher return on that money if you're giving them the $925. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You got questions all around here. 2 in the back, Yosh.
Okay.
Sorry to make you run, buddy.
It's all right.
When you're stating the target area you want to be in is the 5 to 15% range,
Okay?
is that based on 20%?
80-20.
80-20.
Everything in par is based on 80-20. Correct. Good question.
I don't know if I can butt in quickly. When you're looking at a property in a neighborhood you know, and you're looking for a value play, what do you typically look for first? Something that is under market rents? I mean, I've been looking at stuff that are the high end of your ratio and then looking what the problem is. But if you want to be in that 5 to 15%, are you looking at differences in rents first?
First of all, when I run par, I don't care what my play is.
Okay.
I haven't even thought about that yet. All I'm trying to do is create a scenario where I can compare all of these properties. I want a quote-unquote normal situation.
Okay.
In other words, I don't know how I can compare all of these deals unless I give it a standard. The standard that I've set up is 80% bank financing, 20% down payment, an interest rate of 6%, an amortization period of 25 years. That's my standard. Once I find out how that performs in that standard, then I variate from there.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Since we're increasing the debt, would that not affect our 185 down payment as well and skew those numbers again positively, obviously? Because we're going to have less down, right?
Maybe you're not following me. I did that. I ran that. You said, yes, we're increasing the debt, which is true. We did that. Our debt increased from 57,888 to 65,123.
Right.
That changes our return because it lowers our down payment from 185,000 to 92,500. That's where
Oh,
I
yeah,
figured.
okay. Yeah, okay.
Did I answer
follow
your
you. Yep.
question?
Yep.
Okay.
I think
All
I just
right.
can't see because of the heads here.
You're saying people in front of you have big heads? I'm
Big
sorry.
heads. Down in front.
I got it. Okay. So Raphael has a question up here, Yosh. Sorry about that.
All right.
They're running. I'm not saying you need exercise. I'm just saying sorry. That's all I'm saying. Like I don't need exercise, you know what I mean? No, right here.
John, what I've noticed is that the initial investment that you're putting in, which is that 20% that comes out of our pocket, is obviously not in our pocket. It's somewhere.
Well, for
Which-
somebody.
Okay, for somebody. For some of the poorer people, it's not in our pocket.
Okay.
So where is that calculated in there? Like I know,
Okay,
shouldn't
good.
that go under the debt service as a credit line, 3%, 4%?
Now that's a good question. That's a really good question. So the question is, John, let me just put this up here. By the way, some of you have a lot of money, others of you don't. I think either way is okay. You still have to build a strategy, okay? So his question is, John, I don't have the 185. I don't have the 92.5. How do you structure that in your deal? Basically, is that your question? Okay, great. Remember the two ways that we talked about how we raise money? We talked about this on, I think it was Thursday, correct? Man, it seems like a month ago, but Thursday. You can either go the debt route as a lender, or you can go the what route? Partner route. So if you bring in a partner on this, and he says, yeah, I'll give you the 92,500, in your operating agreement of your company, you're going to have partner A and partner B. We'll just say Robert's the partner with the money, and Raphael, you have no money. But you might have the looks or something else, the talent, right? The haircut. You do the haircut, right. You do the hard work. So in your operating agreement, you're going to make a deal with Robert. And you're going to say, Robert, because you're putting in this $92,500, this cash flow of $26,877 could go all to you for the first, 3 years or whatever that is, okay? Or maybe Robert says, I really don't need any more income, but I could use the depreciation. So I'll put up the money, I'll take all the depreciation off of this, and that's how I'll get paid back. Or maybe, just maybe, you're going to say, well, these 32 units in Atlanta, we're going to sub-meter for water. And by sub-metering this for water, this is going to change our expenses. Let's just do a sample of what that might be. 32 units times 250. Remember we said that was the cost for sub-metering? What is that, Paul? $8,000. So in addition to the 92,005 that Robert's going to put up, he's going to also put up the $8,000 to sub-meter. Now, Penny, what's the average rent per unit with those? Just estimate.
Anywhere from $695 to $525.
Okay. Okay, so $575. And the owner pays for the water bill? Okay, let's just make the assumption then that 32, just wanted to get an idea of rents, times $40 a month is how much?
15,000 per year.
Per month.
You're going to make me do it per year. 1280.
1280. Now if we annualize that, what is that?
It's 15,360.
15,360. This 15,360 is interesting because this is what we're going to lower our net operating income, increase our net operating income by sub-metering the building for water. We put sub-meters on all 32 units. The tenant is responsible to pay their own water bill because Penny and Marco and Jill are going to wrap this in. We're going green at the complex here, blah, 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 okay? And their NOI of 92,000 is going to go up by about 15,000. Does everybody see that? So let's go back to that 15,000 and divide it by the cap rate of the market, which is about 10. You've just increased the value by 153,360,000 or $360. Raphael is going to make a deal with Robert. And he's going to say, Robert, I'm going to give you 100,000 of that appreciation. And we're going to have that in our operating agreement. And we're going to split the cash flow 50-50. But you're going to take the lion's share of that, or whatever. You can make this any way you want, by the way. Does that help you?
Yes, but it's not the scenario. The scenario would be, it's me, I don't have a partner, I'm putting in my money, it wasn't the bank, now I'm taking it out of the bank. So now they're going to charge me, whatever, 3%, 4% on the credit line.
Okay,
Or would
hold on, freeze. So now you're giving me a different set of rules here, right?
It was basically what I was trying to get at.
But I wouldn't let you talk.
That's right.
Okay. So now he says, John, I don't need Robert. The loyalty, man. The loyalty. Sorry about that, man. I'll take you on. Come on. So Raphael says, I don't need Robert, but I do need an equity line of credit to come up with the 92.5. Great. So we're going to pull this back down. This is exactly what you do. And you got, let's say the bank approves you. You got it, right? So there's something I want everyone to be aware of here, and it's called global debt service coverage ratio. Okay? Because what you're going to have, I need you to help me out with this. Let's say that you borrow the 92,000. Raphael, you listen? Okay. Let's say that you borrow the 92,500 from your bank. What would the interest rate be? 4%. Is it interest only?
That's right.
Okay, so it's interest only 4%. Are you able to do that, Paul? Okay, give me the principal interest and I'll estimate what the interest only is going to be. What's that?
Just call it $4,000, 4% of it.
Okay, so $4,000 interest only. Be $4,000, you're right, almost 100,000, right? So we're going to add $4,000 to his debt service. So that would be 69,123, and that is with the HELOC, home equity line of credit. Okay, so that means that's our debt service per year 3. That means that our cash flow changes, correct? Our debt service went from 65 to 69. That means our 26,877 has to change. Everybody see that? Okay, so let's take our new CADs, which is what, Paul?
22,877.
22,877. Okay, great. So step 6 now. The saga continues. Okay? This is exactly what you'd be doing in your living room, in your office, wherever, in figuring out this deal. In step 6, you have to go back and figure out the cash return on investment again. Okay? So let's do that. We know what our CADs is. That's 22,877. And our down payment now is what? 0. Our return is infinite. So glad you came to my class. However, that's not the most important formula there. The most important formula is what we do next, and that is to figure out, again, our debt service coverage ratio, because we could be putting ourselves in a position in which we're over leveraged. So DSCR is going to equal our NOI of 92,000, that never changes, divided by our new debt service for the year of 69,123, 1.33. We're good. So that's how you would do that deal.
I still understand the infinite.
The infinite is this. The infinite is this. You're getting a cash flow off of really zero money that you pull out of your pocket invested. It's all leveraged funds. Okay? This would be a case in which if you borrowed all the money to do the deal, you'd want to make sure that this was healthy. This needs to be over 1.25. At 1.33, we're good. I wouldn't go too much below that, though. Does this help going through these? Okay, great. Wayne.
What would be the role of the
Slacking,
investor?
slacking.
So we've done these calculations, we're going to proceed with this property.
Yeah,
And right now, up till now, it's been completely on paper.
yeah.
What is the likely role of the absentee investor versus local power team in terms of making some of these income enhancers happen?
Okay, so when you say income enhancers, these are
Sub-
things that we're doing after we close.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think what he's asking is what your play is on the property and how you're going to implement that. Sub-metering, raising rents, all of those things. That's what he's talking about. So, what I would suggest is number one, once you select your area and you know those things, competition, growth or employment, occupancy, vacancy, rents, all of those things, you are building your power team. That's the next thing that you have to do. Property manager, real estate agent, broker, insurance agent, attorney, accountant, you name it. All those people that you have on your power team. Subcontractors. And through your agent and or your property manager, you're making sure those things get accomplished. Sub-metering, raising rents, lowering expenses by getting different service contracts in there, protesting taxes, all of those things. That's why your power team becomes so important. So important. I rely, like you guys met Lynn on Wednesday, you wouldn't believe how much I rely on that woman. I mean, she just really has gotten me out of a lot of trouble and got me, right on track. They're worth their weight in gold. Okay? Did that answer that, Wayne? Okay. Dallas, you have a question?
I do, and everything that you've talked about obviously covers everything that we need. It's great. The one thing that you did touch on that I'm kind of interested in now is the fact that you go green. Now, is there anything that you can get on the side of the green from counties, from whatever?
Yeah. What's interesting about going green, by the way, that statistic that I threw up, Heather looked it up and she said, it's online, look it up, how much water conservation happens when you sub-meter the building for water. It's somewhere around the 30% range. Conservation goes up when people are paying their own water bill. Now, I don't know if that's because they're earth-friendly or just cheap, but nevertheless, that is a true statistic. I think when you use that Trojan horse technique and package your higher rents and higher cost of the water bill and things like that to the actual tenant, I think then and only then can you have that work well with the tenant. They're not going to make such a big deal out of that then. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's something I would definitely recommend.
When we're talking about, you just mentioned the power teams again, and I'm just wondering, because now we've been through the part about trying to set up a power team and meeting these people.
Can I halt right there, Peter?
Yep.
First of all, Peter, they picked their area. They picked Phoenix. We got there. We got a power team in place. And what happened? What happened just today?
We just closed today. We're closing.
Give 'em a hand
We
for that.
signed today. We're paying on Tuesday.
And they got a heck of a deal. So
Yeah.
I really, again, you guys are perfect examples of how when you pick your market and you choose on that market and you do your research there and build your team, that's when results happen. That's when results happen. That's why for everyone, I hark on that, pick your market. Let's find out what's going on there and let's make this thing happen. But go ahead with your question.
When we're building our power teams, and I mean, we're still in the process because nothing's absolutely final ever, but I was just wondering, we have now seen from the process that when we go, say, to Phoenix and we talk to, say, a real estate
Kelly.
agent, Kelly, and she's already got her team, how much resistance is there, or what would you say that, you know, if we're talking to somebody who seems to have already a team built, is there any point in trying to reinvent the wheel and try and go out and find anybody? Once we've found a real estate
Yeah.
agent that we trust
Yeah.
and is doing the job for us, is there any point in trying to disturb it and say, you know, well, we want to maybe get a different manager, you know, property
Yeah.
manager?
So they're using someone as an agent in Phoenix that I like. I've recommended them to other people as well, right? And Kelly is very organized. She's been doing this for, I don't know, 7 years or so,
Yeah.
something like that. She's an ex-golf pro, and she decided to change careers and become a real estate agent. That's what she does. She takes it very seriously. And I know she's got a good team behind her. I know the leader of that office, Chris Anderson, she does a really good job as well. But the thing that impressed me about Kelly was the fact that with her team, she knew them intimately. She knew how good a work they do, blah, blah, blah. So for instance, Peter and Brenda brought out an inspector to do the inspection. Was that a good guy?
He was great.
He was
Absolutely
very thorough. He came out, did the report. He went over the report line item by line item with us. And so just to answer your question, not going off on a tangent, I think if you got one team member that can bring other team members to the party, why reinvent the wheel? You've just saved time, headache, money, all of that. So yes, that in a sense, when you find a good team member, you should be asking them about others. Asking them about others.